On Monday, June 23, 2025, the skies over Qatar suddenly became a front line in a widening conflict. Iran launched a barrage of ballistic missiles aimed at the Udeid Airbase, which is a sprawling and critical U.S. military installation. This base is not just another outpost, it's actually the largest American military facility in the entire Middle East. It serves as the nerve center for U.S. air operations across 21 countries and is home to approximately 10,000 American and allied military personnel. The attack represented a direct and audacious challenge to the United States on the soil of one of its key regional partners, sending shockwaves far beyond the Gulf. The moments during the strike were filled with tension and high-tech defense. As the Iranian missiles streaked across the sky, a sophisticated network of U.S. and Qatari air defense systems sprang into action. Systems like the Patriot missile batteries were activated to intercept the incoming threats before they could reach their target. According to officials, this defensive shield was a complete success. Every single missile launched by Iran was reportedly neutralized mid-air, preventing what could have been a devastating blow to the base and its personnel. The successful interception demonstrated the advanced capabilities of the air defense architecture protecting U.S. assets in the region. In the immediate aftermath, American and Qatari authorities confirmed that the attack resulted in no casualties. Furthermore, they reported no significant damage to the infrastructure at Al Udeid Airbase. This outcome was a testament to the effectiveness of the defensive measures in place. However, the psychological impact was immediate and profound. In the nearby capital city of Doha, air raid sirens blared, forcing residents to confront the reality of a direct military strike. The Qatari government, caught in the crossfire, swiftly condemned the act as a flagrant violation of its national sovereignty, highlighting the precarious position of smaller Gulf nations amid the escalating conflict. The attack had a cascading effect on regional stability and daily life. Fearing further escalation, Qatar had already closed its airspace hours before the missiles were launched, a move quickly followed by neighboring countries. Kuwait, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain all shut down their airspace, grinding commercial air travel to a halt. Major airlines canceled flights to the Gulf, and international carriers began rerouting planes to avoid a vast and now dangerous corridor. In Doha, Iran did not act in a vacuum. Its leaders were clear that the missile strike on Al Udeid was a direct response to American military action just days earlier. Over the weekend, the United States had conducted targeted airstrikes against three of Iran's most sensitive nuclear facilities, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. U.S. forces reportedly used powerful bunker-buster bombs, specifically designed to penetrate deeply buried structures like the Fordo facility. The stated goal of the American mission was to obstruct access routes and degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities. This U.S. action was itself part of a broader, rapidly escalating conflict involving Iran and Israel. Tehran framed its missile launch as a proportional, tit-for-tat retaliation. Iran's Supreme National Security Council declared that it had launched the exact same number of missiles at the U.S. base as the number of bombs the U.S. had dropped on its nuclear sites. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian articulated his country's position with a stark warning: "We neither initiated the war nor seek it, but we will not leave invasion without answer." This statement reflects a core principle of Iran's defense doctrine, which emphasizes a powerful response to any attack on its soil or sovereignty, aiming to deter future aggression through the promise of painful reprisal. The American strikes and Iranian retaliation are the latest chapter in an 11-day conflict that has primarily involved Iran and Israel. Israel had been conducting a major air campaign against Iran, targeting military command centers, missile production sites, and even symbolic locations. These Israeli attacks have inflicted significant casualties, with a human rights group reporting at least 950 killed in Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump's rhetoric further inflamed tensions. After the U.S. strikes, he posted on social media about the possibility of regime change in Tehran, a comment the White House later tried to walk back as a mere question, but which was seen by Iran as a direct threat. This dangerous cycle of attack and counterattack has put the entire region on high alert. U.S. military forces from the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea were placed on their highest state of readiness. General Abdolrahim Mousavi, a top Iranian military commander, warned that the U.S. strikes on its nuclear sites had given Iran a free hand to target American interests anywhere in the world. The missile launch on Qatar was the first and most visible manifestation of that threat. The world now watches to see if this exchange will be the end of a chapter or the beginning of a much wider and more destructive war. The international community reacted with alarm and a chorus of calls for de-escalation. Iran's strike on Qatar drew swift condemnation from its Arab neighbors, who saw the attack as a dangerous violation of regional stability. The Arab League, representing 22 member states, issued a strong statement against the attack, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, longtime rivals of Iran, joined Jordan in denouncing the missile launch. These nations view the conflict as a direct threat to their own security and economic well-being, as any major war in the Gulf would have devastating consequences for them, regardless of who started it. Major world powers also weighed in, each with their own strategic interests in mind. Russia, a key ally of Iran, condemned the preceding US and Israeli attacks as unprovoked aggression. President Vladimir Putin reaffirmed the unbreakable partnership between Moscow and Tehran, but was careful to clarify that Russia is not militarily bound to defend Iran. China, another nation with close ties to Iran, focused on the safety of its citizens, evacuating over 3,000 people from Iran and 500 from Israel. These actions show that while some nations may offer political support to one side, their primary goal is to avoid being dragged into a direct military confrontation between major powers. Western alliances like NATO and the European Union expressed grave concern. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte reiterated the long-standing Western position that Iran must never be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon, a core issue at the heart of the current tensions. Both the EU and NATO strongly urged all sides to show restraint and step back from the brink. The United Kingdom's Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, echoed this sentiment, emphasizing that his government's main focus was on diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the conflict. The unified message from Europe was clear. Diplomacy must be given a chance before the situation spirals out of control. Concerns over Iran's nuclear program have intensified. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog, fears very significant damage at the Fordo facility following the US airstrikes. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi noted that his agency cannot fully assess the extent of the damage to the underground sections. While Iran claimed it had moved sensitive nuclear material before the strikes, the IAEA issued a reminder that any such transfer must be officially declared. This lack of transparency and the physical damage to the sites have only deepened international suspicion and made future nuclear negotiations far more complicated. The escalating conflict carries severe risks for the global economy, primarily centered on the world's oil supply. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway between Iran and Oman, is a critical choke point through which about 20% of the world's oil consumption passes every day. Fears are growing that Iran might attempt to close or disrupt shipping in the strait as a powerful form of leverage. While experts believe a full closure is unlikely because Iran also depends on the strait for its own trade, the mere threat has caused oil tankers to divert and insurance premiums to soar, adding costs and uncertainty to global energy markets. So far, the impact on oil prices has been more muted than some feared. Prices rose modestly in the wake of the escalating tensions. Interestingly, after the Iranian missile strike on Al Udeid was successfully intercepted without damaging any energy infrastructure, oil prices actually dipped by 4%. This market reaction suggests that traders are currently betting that the conflict will remain contained and will not lead to a major disruption of oil production or transport. However, this stability is fragile. Any direct hit on oil fields, refineries, or tankers in the Gulf would almost certainly cause prices to spike dramatically, affecting costs for businesses and consumers worldwide. The crisis is also having significant political effects within the United States. A recent poll showed a dramatic surge in support for military action against Iran among Republican voters, jumping from 23% to 68% after the U.S. strikes were announced. This indicates a rally around the flag effect, but it also highlights the deep partisan divides in American foreign policy. At the same time, some lawmakers from both the Republican and Democratic parties have criticized the Trump administration for what they see as a lack of transparency and a failure to consult with Congress before taking military action, raising constitutional questions about war powers. The path forward remains fraught with danger. The immediate question is whether the cycle of retaliation is over. Did Iran's intercepted strikes satisfy its need to respond, or is it planning further attacks? Will the U.S. and Israel view the situation as de-escalated, or will they feel compelled to act again? The fate of the region hangs in the balance. Diplomats are working behind the scenes to find an off-ramp, a way for all sides to step back without losing face. The hope is that a fragile peace can be restored, but the fear is that one more miscalculation could ignite a regional war with catastrophic consequences for everyone.